difficulty with the sound, but I think we're good to go now. Okay. Sorry. So let me just show you who we are here. I have. Yeah. And so we got good sized class today that are eager to hear you. And we have Danny. I think you met Danny before, and he's going to introduce the topic for us, and he's going to lead, and you guys will kind of go back and forth. Okay, Eddie and Danny, welcome. And also Ian, another former MBA student. Okay.
Okay, so I have, I'm not quite sure how to put the presentation. Can I make him a little bit smaller there?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Don't worry about it. He can see us. He can see us.
And people like to see him in the background. It's all about the action.
Yeah. I wish we could actually split the screens and then you can move on if you want to, but...
Yeah. Before I use this, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Andy, can you hear Danny?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, great.
I'll try and keep it nice and loud. You can scream and shout if I lose you completely. Okay, so when Dan first contacted me, sort of trying to decide what to talk about, one of the ideas was just to talk about my recent experiences and what I've learned, and maybe it helps you guys out to plan for what you want to do once you graduate. And something a little bit more theoretical like this, concentration and fragmentation. Just a quick show of hands. If I say concentration versus fragmentation, who gets what I'm talking about? Idea? Okay. Happens in markets, happens in business landscape, specifically sort of the big shift and that whole idea. We'll get to all of that in a second. First of all, I'm Danny. As he's already said, I used to study here. I graduated 5.5 months ago. And then I confronted the real world. Obviously what you learn in university is very interesting and you get to think and explore ideas. But you do have to wonder what actually happens in the real world. And how closely does what happened in the real world resemble what you learn about at university, right? Anyone wonder about that? No?
Try not to.
Try not to. It's a good strategy. Okay, so during my time here at Fengja, I worked pretty hard. I saw it as an opportunity to learn as much as I possibly can, and I wasn't sure where it would go. I just knew the more I could learn, the better equipped I would be for whatever might come once I leave, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this, and try to sort of bring the two together, which is maybe a task beyond my ability, but I'll try nonetheless. So one of the things I noticed, and that goes with this topic, concentration versus fragmentation, and we'll explain in more detail later, but it falls under a big topic called the big shift. And the big shift is this idea that since the Second World War, the world has changed a lot. Through policies, governments change the rules, so to speak. So more and more it becomes easier for people, for goods and for services and so to actually operate within their own countries, bigger distances through provinces and so on, and ultimately between countries. So people can move more easily between countries, goods can move between countries, and this changes the game, the business game, right? And the other thing that is responsible for the big shift is something, it's been moving along, so I can't say it's more recent, but it's something that's been accelerating. And I'm sure you hear about this, well, specifically in the class, you say there's IT management and commerce, e-commerce. So it's right up the alley here, right? The internet or computer technology has really created a platform, specifically with how fast the internet becomes through bandwidth that increases, the processing speeds. Are we having chats here and stuff? the processing speed, so what computers can do, the amount it can store, how it stores it, and from that base technology, all these other technological spin-offs, right, that keep on changing the game. So something like cloud computing or crowdfunding, all of these things are only here because of these initial technological and policy ideas. And the question is, how much will it change? Will it keep on changing and then stop at some point? Now, a lot of us sit at university and you hear these ideas, oh, the world is changing, the business landscape's changing. But in the back of your head you think, when I finish studying, I'll walk out of here and I'll get a job, and then I'll go to the job and they'll tell me what to do and I'll sit there and I'll do it, and it'll just be the way that it's always been. A big company employs you and you have a job and you sit there and steadily move along and you make an average amount, maybe a little bit above average amount of money, and life will just go on. This landscape is just about dead. Right? We know more and more. The people right at the top make more money. The CEOs make more and more money. The top managers, the true talent, the people that they really want, make more and more money. And the people below them make less money, work longer hours, have fewer benefits, work gets outsourced. So we're going to explore a little bit of this. So first I want to ask you, what is the most, do you think anyway, when you're looking for work, what is the single most important thing? When you're looking for a place to work and you want to make lots of money and become filthy rich, multi-billionaire or whatever, what's the number one important thing? Anyone? Try it?
Your marketability.
Marketability is important, okay.
It's work hours.
Work hours?
Work hours, yeah. Now with the internet, like you can work overnight if you want, depending on where you are. You've got all kinds of different contracts emerging. So, like for example, if you've got a family, you don't want to be, you don't want to be a day trader. You'll be stuck to your screen, 12 hours a day.
Okay, so you might be looking for the flexibility, the flexibility of your hours, your marketability. What's going to get you that great opportunity? Luck. Luck is the single most important thing. But luckily about luck, there's something that we can do. Because luck is preparation when preparation meets an opportunity. So here you are, you have an opportunity to prepare. Now what do you prepare? Well, you can only, if you know what your opportunities will be, then you prepare exactly for them. Does anyone here know what their opportunities are going to be? We've got no idea. So what to prepare? Well, prepare as much as you can. Read as much as you can. Think as deep as you can about as many things as possible, so that when different opportunities arrive, you are somewhat prepared and you can turn them into luck. This is making your own luck, right?
Can
Yes.
we ask Eddie what's his opinion on
Sure.
your previous question? Eddie, did you hear Danny's previous question?
Previous question about luck.
No, it was about what is the most important thing in regards to, can you rephrase the question then?
Oh, if you're looking for work, what is the most important single thing that will help you secure the right job?
You said luck. Yeah, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. It's I agree with luck. We live in a chaotic world. So chaos means something which is beyond your ability to calculate every aspect of it. Yeah, very, very complex. So basically, luck is ultimately an event in your life you have to prepare for. That means that, I agree with you basically. Okay? I agree with what you said.
Fantastic. At least if someone agree with me.
No, I all do, I think.
Thanks, Eddie. Okay, so let me just jump in here. I'm going to do this instead of being
Can we turn Eddie up a bit louder?
Excuse me?
Can we turn Eddie up a bit louder?
Um,
Is that possible?
Yeah, from
how do we turn Eddie up louder?
this going.
Eddie, can you just say something for us? Quick test.
Yeah, one, yeah, here I am.
Okay. Yes, now you're nice and loud. Excellent. Okay, so the question, the future of business. What does the future look like? We don't know, of course. This is the lovely thing about a question like this, because no one can know. Tomorrow the world changes completely. We wake up and the sun doesn't come up. And as Eddie was saying, we live in chaos. Suddenly there are 3 wars that weren't there yesterday, and everything changes. So we don't know. But we try to see from the way things used to be and how they've systematically changed. We try to estimate how it might look in the future. So I want to ask you, I'm going to take a couple of people, I want to ask you what you see yourself doing, your job in the future, or what kind of company you plan to work, and how you think that will look. Will it look the way it's always looked? Might it change a little? If it changes, how might it change? How might it look different? So, do we have any volunteers? Okay, so we don't have any volunteers. This is the next system.
Come on, guys.
I want everyone to point to someone, and whoever gets pointed to the most has to answer. Alternatively, if you don't point to someone, you get asked. Okay, so point to someone. Point to people. No, where are you pointing? Over here? Okay, let's grab him. Nian.
Right. In the future, I'd like to go, despite what Dan was saying earlier about marketing, into brand management and marketing for a particular company. So I see myself doing that in the future. I already started with a company in Taiwan, and I think I'll definitely continue on that trajectory into the future. So,
Okay.
other question?
So there's a trajectory. You already see yourself in this position. You already do some of
I'm already doing
the
some
work.
of it, right.
Do you see the nature of that job changing, or the way that work is delegated, or might be outsourced, or?
Even in the past couple of months, I've been working there for just over 6 months, and the company is changing. The company is changing. Influencers, they're looking at markets abroad, the Middle East, also Europe, and the company is changing. The way they approach the market, the way they try to structure the marketing of the products, that's changing. And it's changing fast.
Okay.
Okay, let me rephrase what I said earlier in regards to marketing.
No, I'm just kidding.
What I meant to say is that learning about marketing, it's obviously easier than learning about information management. I'm not saying the marketing is easy, and certainly there are people that are better than others at marketing and understanding marketing. And earlier, Eddie, you were making at the other forum, and you can say that again, because none of the students have heard you comment on marketing before. So can you state what you said last time in regards to marketing? I think that was quite a catchy one. The one when you started with, I think you went back to evolutionary principles, and the way we do marketing is by looking at certain things in our evolutionary way of doing things.
Okay, I mean, talking about evolution, yeah? I believe
Well, I was just
market-
rephrasing. I was just referring back to the idea that you said last time in regards to marketing.
basically about the chaos, yeah?
Yeah. Chaos.
I mean, yeah, okay. Chaos, it's a super complex system, is chaotic, yeah? As the complexity is increasing, what means chaos? It's a system where a very slight change is increasing dramatically and exponentially in time. So every slight change has dramatic consequences for the future. And nobody can foresee the change. Nobody can foresee the effects. So I believe that the most important quality is to be flexible and adaptable. Is to learn to adapt, to learn to learn. So basically, I believe that whatever plan you make today, it will be futile in the future, except for exercising your planning ability. You learn to plan, but whatever plan you make today will be good for nothing in the future. You have to adapt, to change, to be flexible. And by the way, I like to add another idea, maybe it's a little collateral, but I believe that we have to exercise our rights as our political rights, as citizens, to keep the legal framework in place so that we can succeed, because as you said, there are fewer people making more and more money. The profit is inequally distributed, and you are going to work hard, and you are going to make another person rich. So you have to be in a certain kind. You have to be involved in politics and in the democratic process and exercise your rights as a citizen to change the world. You know, to change even the economic landscape.
I don't think my interjection helped. It wasn't going the way I wanted to go, but let's get back to
But I do think it touches on the idea of, it is unpredictable because we're talking about the future, but you can do some things to prepare yourself. And one of them, as he says, is to learn, to make sure you're always busy learning, always ready to evolve, because you know things will change. It's sort of momentum. The more you study, the easier it gets to study, right? The more you learn new things. If you never learn new things, eventually you want to learn one new thing. It feels like your brain is like an egg that just cracks open. You can't do it because you've become solid, and you lose that neuroplasticity, that ability to move and to learn new things. But to sort of briefly jump on, I want to quickly tell you about some of the things that happened to me in the 5.5 months since I graduated, and how all of them, in at least some way, have relation to what he's talking about, the changing landscape, the chaotic nature of it, and specifically this idea of the big shift. As Nian said, he started 6 months ago, and already this business, you can see the business changing. Now some of it, of course, is because of his wonderful inputs and reminding them of how the world is changing and how they need to adapt with it. And some of it's just because there's a force, and everyone sees that businesses are, certain businesses that traditionally did very well are losing a lot of money, and ways that wouldn't make money before, people who couldn't do certain kinds of businesses before are suddenly doing them, all by themselves, and they're making lots of money. So we'll look into more detail in this in a second. We still need to do at least one person for
yeah, I was
career.
thinking that.
At least one. You want to pick someone, Dan?
Yeah. Can we have a lady from my information management class tell us what you will see yourself, or what would you like to see yourself do in terms of career, right? That was your...
Yeah. What does the job look like?
And,
what does the office look like?
How do you think you will get to do that? Okay, ladies. Okay, so should I just volunteer somebody?
Volunteer someone.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but can you tell us what would you think in terms of your future career, and how would you get there?
I don't think I will work for some company. Okay. This is all I know exactly. Maybe I will open my own business or yeah.
And how would you attempt to do that?
You know, I'm from Russia, so it's like no a huge opportunity to build your own business there. There is
Keep going. We just wanna.
maybe some dealership, auto dealership, because in my city there is no any no, there are some dealership companies, but not too many. So it's like we have no Kia
Okay.
dealership or Honda, Toyota.
And you can
Yeah.
speak English and Chinese, so that's an advantage, right?
Kind of. Yeah.
Great. All right, so it seems like you pretty much know what you're going to do, and hopefully it's going to happen for you. But what if it didn't happen? Do you have a backup plan?
I also have an interest in architecture design, so maybe I will go for it.
I always tell everyone, including myself, that I should always have a backup plan, and I do. I try to do research, I write, I teach, I know about electronics, mechanics. So if anything goes in a different direction at some point, then I can try to fall back on something else that I can do or I'm able to do. And I encourage you guys not to focus only on one specific or one individual thing, but to try to get something, perhaps even something that you might not necessarily like so much, but you're certainly able to do it, or you're capable of doing it, to fall back on it in any kind of emergency or situation. So I don't know. Do you want to add to this, Eddie, or?
I think there are two classes of people who succeed in everything, not only in business. Those who are consistent in their plans. So they make a plan and they keep trying it over and over again until they succeed. And those who are willing to give up their plans and try something different. Now, here is a paradox, it's a contradiction. Because if you keep trying over and over again the same thing, you are not going to change your plan. And if you keep changing your plans, you are not going to be consistent in any plan. And so I think there is an instinct here, something that you develop by exercise, So I believe it's a great mistake to give up a plan after 1 or 2 or 3 failures. You should keep trying, like the Kia or Hyundai or Honda or Toyota thing. I just heard, like, okay, I have to create a dealership for a certain car, and maybe I have some problems, but I keep trying. On the other hand, you have to change your plan and reinvest your resources quickly in another thing if your plan is not good enough. So I believe people who succeed are those people who are able to assess when the time is right to change your plan. Okay, so and I also believe that basically there is a psychological factor. The best thing about having a plan is that keeps you focused. It keeps you confident. Okay, I have a plan. I have a parachute. Okay, I can jump. It's your psychology. So maybe the plan is not good. The plan will not succeed. But the very fact that you have a plan puts you in another frame of mind. You are poised, you are focused, you are confident because you know you have a plan. And maybe the plan is not good, but it's still very important for you to have a plan for psychological reasons.
Okay. Eddie, it sort of reminds me of the saying, life happens while you're planning, right? So.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And it's that idea that at least you're running on some kind of plan. So when something does come your way, you can change your plan. But if you didn't have a plan, then you're sitting in misery. You don't have that psychological drive. So,
Basically, hopeless people are people who have no plan. A person has a plan is never hopeless, but maybe the plan will not work. But anyway, nevertheless, because you have a plan, you don't feel hopeless. You are not locked in this cycle of helplessness.
great. Well,
Yeah, you know, I like, if you allow me, I like to tell you a story. A few years ago, I was working for street people in downtown Atlanta. And there are a lot of intelligent people there. You wouldn't believe how intelligent people end up on the streets. And I mean, I noticed a common denominator. I heard their stories. There is a common denominator. They don't know what to do. It's not because, I mean, when I say they don't know what to do, I don't mean they do not have a good plan. I mean they have no plan at all, you know? So whenever something happens, they have no plan. And as you said, you have a plan. Maybe your plan is not adequate for the situation, but it's easier to change your plan than to start from the scratch with no plan at all.
point taken. Good argument. So perhaps just, if nothing else, at least the psychological assistance that a plan gives you. At least you feel like you're going somewhere, even if you might not be heading in a good direction. Okay, so before I get into the back to concentration and fragmentation, I just quickly want to talk about sort of big shift. Did anyone miss this? Big shift. Can you remember what big shift is? Touching on it. Okay, so big shift is how the future business landscape keeps on changing. And currently it's already there. Things change, right? 30 years ago, you could, for almost a whole generation, you could be in the same kind of job. You start out at a company, you are, let's say, in accounts, and every couple of years you get bumped up a notch, so slowly promoted. You get a house and a wife or husband and some kids, and so you could just go through these things, and life was actually relatively sedentary, relatively safe in terms of people's security, in terms of how people did work. But that's been shaken up by changes in policy, but also changes in technology that makes it much more dynamic, much more competitive. It changes the way big business works, and because of that, it changes the way small business works. So, oh, changing his eyes. There you go. You actually got a view now.
Yeah.
Change.
Change is good as a holiday, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm going to quickly talk about the past 5.5 months. I'm going to run through. I basically did 7 different things, but only 6 of them can be considered opportunities. And all of them were somehow influenced by the big shift, by the changing business environment. How things aren't how they used to be, and how they keep on changing, right? The first one was for a small technology company in South Africa. For those who don't know, I'm from South Africa. And basically on the title of my thesis, this old acquaintance asked me to please help them out. I got in, I helped them. I was here in Taiwan. They were in South Africa. They did B2B, and this was their first B2C, first time working with customers. They wanted to launch directly in America. So for me sitting here helping them with digital marketing, while they were in South Africa, we launched in the US using crowdfunding. And they'd never done any business to consumer work before. And crowdfunding got them to a point, we had a conversation. It came out that their 2-3 year strategy was actually to court a specific big American business to buy over their company. And they managed to do this in 2-3 months instead, because of the leverage that the new technology, the crowdfunding and so on, gave them, right? The fact that they could send it to one guy who would test it and then go write a review, a blog about it, and all the necessary other people would see it, and so they could grow very quickly. So a small little company could get very, very big very quickly because of these new technologies, because of the big shift, right? I'm actually going to skip over a couple of these. I think it's interesting, but one of them, sort of German company working, they want me to do social compliance. So social compliance, you go to the factories and you go make sure they don't have children working for them. They don't have, it's not slave labor, right? It's clean enough, it's safe. They don't have, if there are poisonous gases, they give the people masks.
Like CSR, right? Corporate social responsibility sort of thing.
It's sort of like that, but in-house, right? And so what happens, because of the big shift, in the old days, let's say people in Germany who want consumer goods, shoes, jackets, whatever, there would be people in Germany making them, right? Now one of the things of the big shift is this dislocation of geography. So suddenly the people who make the consumers might be in Germany, but the people who make them are in China or Bangladesh or India. And in those places the working conditions are such that the German consumers wouldn't be happy to know if things are unsafe, right? So the trading company has to get, and all of this is, and once again, it's a big shift. How would they find out? Because of the internet. So the trading company needs to employ someone to go make sure that those conditions are adequate for what Germans would expect the workers of the manufacturing of their goods to be. So all of this, more big shift, more big shift. Then one of the bigger, actually the same company, another opportunity is for me to go work in China in a trading company. And what I saw there very quickly with consumer goods is that the game has changed. Where previously these traders in the 1990s, these guys were making very good money, big fat margins. Suddenly the competition has become very fierce because of the internet and communication, how easy it is to communicate. A lot of the big buyers go directly to big factories, so some of the traders end up having to deal with smaller factories. Once again at lower margins. Margins sometimes so low you don't know how they can take the risks that come with a business. This is all the changing landscape. It's all jobs that were previously sounded like a good idea that might not sound like a good idea anymore, right? Okay, so
we have a question for you.
yes, please.
How should we say useful or beneficial was your IMBA degree? You know, in any of this, or all of it.
Well, I think one of the important things is, and sort of what Eddie was saying, like you want to learn to be able to learn. And studying an MBA is an opportunity to further hone your skills, to learn how to learn. I think for anything you study, you have an opportunity to speed up, to accelerate your learning processes. And that helps you to stand back when you do have an opportunity arise. You might be prepared for it, which is great, that's the important part. If you're not prepared for it, then you don't know what to do with it, so you lose it. But also if you do have that opportunity and it does look like you're being lucky, you are prepared and there is an opportunity, then you can also stand back and use some of what you've learned to go think carefully, especially when you have more than one option. You can stand back and go think carefully, how will these options serve me in the future? Because today the one might pay better than the other, but you have to think what's going to happen in 2 years, in 5 years. How will the world change? How will the business landscapes change?
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Alright.
in a sense, yeah. But the other point that I was trying to make, because we have all the students here that are trying hard or maybe not so hard to get that degree. I think the point that I want them to get is that it's not so much the piece of paper that you have in your hands, it's actually what you did to get that piece of paper and then spending the time and doing the right things instead of just cutting corners that gave you the experience and the opportunities to do all these different things. Because I'm just kind of curious, did any of those businesses that you work for specifically and particularly ask you to show them that piece of paper, or not really?
The only people who need me to show them the piece of paper are people who are who need to get visas for me. So when you need a
Okay,
visa,
yeah,
you need a
yeah.
work permit,
I see.
those kind of things, and the qualifications.
Right. So it does come in handy.
Do you feel like the MBA gave you a framework for understanding different business types as you were going from place to place? You were seeing it within the context of the things that you've learned here, and you were able to identify what some areas of the business need development, some need increasing, some need scaling back, things like that. Was it useful in that respect?
Yes, I think it helped me create a basic framework and try and also to, if nothing else, to realize that certain things are much more unsure than you might hope. So one of the opportunities was actually Taiwanese tools manufacturer. And I think a large part of why I didn't go with that opportunity was actually because I'm not sure that 5-10 years down, I don't want to spend 3-4 years getting into the engineering and really getting to understand these machines, and 5-6 years down the line 3D printing becomes so powerful, viable, that you actually lose the use of these machines, so they have to be altered so dramatically that you're actually in a dead industry. Because industries will die, jobs die all the time. And I do think it helped to give me that perspective. That I say, oh well, this is sort of what you were saying. It's not the degree, it's the house you build in your head. And each subject you do, you're sort of painting a room and trying to make it neat with all the stuff that you cram in there. And hopefully in the future you'll be able to use it.
Yeah.
But if you're just going after the piece of paper, you're just trying to pass the tests, then the house is not going to be worth much. Maybe it won't be of much use to you.
Eddie, can we get your point of view on, pieces of papers, some which are maybe more useful than others, maybe some are not so useful?
It's interesting because...
You know what I mean, right? When I refer to the pieces of papers, right?
I know. But I like to ask a question first, okay? I know a few people, former tennis players, former soccer players, Okay, let's say those people who have been in the games that require quick decision and strategic thinking and, let's say, quick firing of their neurons, and they became very, very rich, very successful business people. I mean, they never started in a business school, They just played tennis or soccer or something. Do you think that there is something in the brain, something with the brain of a player, Let's say, let's give another example, a poker player like Bill Gates used to be a bit poker player in college. So, do you think that there is something with the brain of a tennis player or a poker player or a soccer player that prepares that person for a successful business career even without doing school? I mean, school is very good, don't misunderstand me. But I just want to ask this question. Is something with the plasticity of the brain or something with strategic thinking, with a quickness of decision? What exactly makes a former tennis player a very good business person, for instance?
Yeah, it's a...
Good question, Eddie.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I suppose it's one of the things that makes all these... Because, there's also very good sports players, like, okay, I don't want to be racist in a sense, but there's a lot of African Americans that had millions and almost even $1 billion, like Mike Tyson. He's bankrupt, so yeah, he was very quick when he was fighting and everything, but obviously he wasn't quick to do anything good with his money, so he could go both ways. So yeah, there are it works in some cases, but it's not going to work all the time. And I don't know, it's almost racist to even think, because if you look at there's many other basketball players in NBA that also are bankrupt, which made millions and millions of dollars. And they were quick, they were doing the right thing on the court, but obviously not business-wise. So I'm not so sure what can trigger some to be really, really good at business and what triggers others to